Good morning and welcome to Practice Management Nuggets. Today I have a special guest interview with Dr. Michael Greiwe of OrthoLive. OrthoLive is a telehealth platform specifically for orthopedic providers, and they have a sister platform called SpringHealthLive, which is for other healthcare providers. So today we're going to talk with Michael Greiwe, and I want to thank you for joining us all the way from Ohio.
Thank you, Jean. It's great to be here. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
I'm very excited to hear from you and about telehealth and about a new platform that other healthcare providers can use. So tell me a little bit about Dr. Michael Greiwe. What brought you to telehealth?
Yeah, I'm an orthopedic surgeon, Jean. I started practice about 10 years ago, and I live in kind of the Cincinnati area. I do a lot of shoulder replacement, and I do a lot of shoulder work, and kind of have a tertiary referral practice where people come from other places to see me sometimes. And what I really felt like when I started the company OrthoLive back in 2016 was that we just didn't have a great platform to be able to use efficiently as physicians, and then patients were really struggling like getting on the platforms that we had currently available at that point in time. And so I felt like there was a better way to be able to do telemedicine, and that's kind of what brought me into getting into the fact that I felt like we could create a more efficient platform for both the patients and the providers, and that's the story. That's kind of how things got started. And the patients that were traveling from 2 or 3 hours away, I was able to see them a little bit easier, and that was nice.
Nice for the patients and nice for you.
Yeah, exactly. That was the whole idea, is kind of trying to create something that was good for the patients and the providers both.
Okay. Now, I think your story is really interesting for a couple of reasons. Having worked in a hospital environment and having worked with a number of orthopedic surgeons are a different breed, and you tend to do things very much procedural based, and you come up with all sorts of innovative tools to do your job.
Yeah, orthopedics is a great specialty. I really feel blessed that it was, everybody has their niche or what you feel most comfortable with when you go through medical school. And you look around and you say, well, these people are really like me, and I think orthopedics was that for me. I found like a lot of people that I really got along well with there. And yeah, I think, surgeons, especially orthopedic surgeons, are always looking for the next tools that's going to make their job a little bit easier and make it better for the patients. So I think I fall into that mold a little bit as well. And yeah, I really love orthopedics. It's a great place to be.
Okay. And the technology side, is that something that you developed as a hobby or a professional interest?
Yeah, I always had an interest. I believe that technology really is a helpful thing for most of us in our daily lives. And I felt like it was strange. It seemed that in medicine, technology almost was the antithesis of that. So we found that, electronic health record systems and things like that ended up being a burden for physicians at times, at least in the United States. I'm not sure how it was in Canada, but we sort of, I think, had a bad taste in our mouth with technology. But I always felt like technology could help us tremendously make our practices more efficient and, allow patients to have a better experience. And so I believed in technology, first of all. And then I think I started to think about all the ways that telemedicine might be able to really help our patients and help our physicians. And so I gained an interest in technology a long time ago, and have used it in my practice and ultimately developed this interest in telemedicine. So I don't have a huge tech background, but I think I just enjoy leading the team, and you really know what you need out of the telemedicine platform. I let my strong technology officers take care of it from there.
And that's a great way to be. If you know how you want it to work on one side and can explain it to the technical folk. I lovingly say that I don't speak fluent geek, but I help with the translation.
That's right. I like that.
So you can get the two sides together, and then you can come up with an outcome that everybody's happy with.
Right. Ultimately, we knew what the finished product needed to look like, and we could guide them along that process. And yeah, we really have a great platform now where I feel like patients are able to get in, get their visit done, and then the providers can move right along to the next patient. So really excited about where we are now. And it took a lot of learning, but over the past 4 years, we've really I think, started to get honed in, and it's just beautiful to see something working, easily and smoothly. So that's fun.
Okay. There are a number of different ways that we can define or use telehealth. So we've got an asynchronous telehealth type of a platform where you've got a portal, the patient calls you, you call them back a couple hours later, they pick up the message and so on. And then we have the synchronous, which is like, a Zoom call where we can have that same time type of conversation.
Right.
OrthoLive is set up primarily for asynchronous communication.
It's both. It's both. So OrthoLive has a text base, which is sort of the asynchronous, where we can text pictures back and forth. We can communicate, through, video recordings if we want to, and send that almost just like you're texting a friend. And then we have the video, which is the live video as well. And we were really built around the live video, but we added the asynchronous because it was very important for a lot of our surgeons, a lot of the physicians that we worked with SpringHealthLive, to be able to send messages back and forth to other physicians and then also to patients as well. So we could really create a nice communication platform as well. So yeah, we cover both asynchronous and synchronous with our platform.
Okay. So that's interesting. So the attachments, if you will, they must get stored within your app, and then they get exported outside to the EMR or the computer network?
That's right. That's right. So what happens is on our servers, which are all protected servers, each of the messages is encrypted. It's encrypted sort of at the place where it starts through kind of the 256-bit encryption as it's traveling. And then when it gets to the server, it's also secured there as well. So when we house it there, it's also secured. And so there's this, traveling, encryption that happens. And all of that is really geared for, security purposes and making sure that, the information remains safe. But yeah, that's basically how the transmission occurs.
Okay. So we've got encryption at rest and in transit. And then the surgeon would then download it to their EMR for permanent housing?
Right. So we actually work with a group that does full kind of electronic health record integration. And what happens then is there are all the messages that basically get sent back and forth will get transmitted and pushed into the EHR. So what's really important as a surgeon and somebody that's running a practice, as I'm sure you're working with a lot of people that are doing that, the thing that happens there is you have to have that direct communication into the EHR. That's where most of your practitioners are living, and that's where the messages need to be stored. So it makes no sense to have it in two disjointed areas. We really are pushing the integration. I think they feel the integration is really important because A, they allow those messages to sync up with their EHR, but B, whenever they book an appointment for telemedicine, those appointments automatically get scheduled in their EHR and PM system as well. So it just makes it so much nicer if everything's done just once and you're not trying to do it twice, and that just seems like unnecessary. So we really are focused on that integration piece.
Okay, so absolutely. Touch it once is the rule for efficiency.
100%. Yeah, that's so important.
Okay. I have to say, when I was doing some prep for our interview today, I noticed that OrthoLive is available on the App Store, which just blew me away. I mean, how do you get telehealth on an App Store? That's very cool.
Yeah, thank you. We found that like 80 to 90% of people that visit the doctor's office, they live on their phones, so we wanted to meet them where they were, and that is really on the phone. And physicians too, they might be on the go and need to use their phones for communication. And so we really felt it was important to make an app that was readily available to patients and providers to be able to communicate. And so we have it obviously available through the web too. You can visit a website and get your communication done that way, and the video visit can be done that way. But we also felt, and most people honestly use the app. So what we felt also bore out and kind of what people use. It's about 80% of people prefer to use the apps. About 20% will use the web.
Okay. That's really interesting. 80% on the web, on the app, and 20% on the web or desktop.
Right. And I think it's just people are used to looking at their phones. That's where they live their lives, and so to have another app that just works sort of like a normal app would to be able to connect with their doctors. They really like that. They love that idea.
Yeah, it's been interesting for a very long time. Telehealth has been hampered because of the misconception that patients don't want to use technology, that the older folks don't know it or don't understand it, or the younger folks don't get it. But that's not the reality that you seem to be experiencing.
Yeah, it's a really great point, Gene. I mean, it is so incredibly important what we've seen recently, that so many more people are, older patients, they're really taking to telemedicine. The satisfaction numbers are excellent. We recently did a study and looked at what the patient satisfaction was like. And 90% of patients want to do telemedicine again. In fact, they favor a telemedicine appointment over an in-office visit for sort of the basic recheck appointments, which I think is really, it's really telling. I mean, it tells us the fact that patients appreciate convenience just like the providers appreciate convenience, and they appreciate efficiency just like the providers appreciate efficiency too. So it's really an important thing to recognize that people have moved on, and they really feel like this is the next thing to be used in healthcare, and they like using it.
You are listening to Practice Management Nuggets podcasts. Tips to help you start, grow, and improve your healthcare practice and your career. I help you manage the pink elephant in the room. Get the show notes from our website at practicemanagementnuggets.live.
Only one of the tools in your toolbox. So telehealth isn't appropriate for all patients or all providers all the time. Right. What type of scenarios do you think help to indicate that a practice is ready to implement telehealth?
That's a great question. So practices when you have good organizations that have their processes in order for seeing patients in the traditional way, and feel that those processes are efficient and streamlined, they're probably ready to start, embarking on a telehealth journey. And the telehealth journey, I think, is you can go in a lot of different directions with it. I always tell people, to start sort of with a low-hanging fruit, but critically important, I think, is just making sure that the process by which you're seeing patients, documenting your visits, billing and collecting, all those things have to be streamlined, and you have to know what those processes are, and you also have to have the right people in place. When you feel like you have all those processes down, then you're ready to kind of embark on the next journey of seeing patients, which is really telemedicine, because I think you have all the processes that you need to in place to be able to build a visit and to do the right things. So I think that's the key. You just have to make sure, do we have everything in order right now for seeing patients, writing prescriptions, making sure that follow-up is appropriate, and we're documenting our visits and billing and coding correctly. And as long as that's being taken care of, I think practices are probably ready to take the next step.
Okay. And you're speaking to the converted. I'm really big on processes and templates. So having those policies and procedures in place, the training for your staff, the information that's forward-facing to the patient so that they feel comfortable making that next best step, having your documentation in place. And, we got to be honest, during this whole pandemic piece, the whole telehealth and the telemedicine revival has been supported by finally getting some reimbursement for being able to provide healthcare in a telehealth setting that's not in a bricks and mortar hospital.
That's right. That was a big step forward that occurred everywhere during the pandemic. And it was so important because it was kind of the next phase of telemedicine. We knew that it was coming, right? I think, as I kind of started in 2016, we saw that, there was some reimbursement, but it wasn't, full parity everywhere, meaning that, the in-office visits were the same as telemedicine visits. And the pandemic really brought this to life in terms of like what it really could mean for patients. And so that was an important thing that happened over the last several months, is that, we are getting that reimbursement, which then allowed for the exploration of different methods by which we use telemedicine in the office, and I think served a lot more patients that way too. So it was really important, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, processes are the way to run your practice efficiently, and your practice is a business, and businesses really run best on processes and making sure that you're getting those processes out to the management, and then they distribute it downstream as well. So it's so important.
Right. In healthcare, there has been a progression at different places at different times for different professions to be able to work to their full scope of practice. So, nurse practitioners for a long time were not able to work to the full scope of practice. Now they're, I think, making some headways. Same with physician's assistants. Telehealth, again, we're going to push that limit again. At the moment, for most reimbursement, they allow reimbursement for that healthcare provider, be it a physician or a chiropractor, and they'll get the reimbursement. What do you see as happening with those assistants to those healthcare providers engaging in telehealth and then also being able to be reimbursed under that model?
Right. And that's a good question. I mean, what I'm seeing right now is that so for instance, in the US, nurse practitioners and PAs, they're getting reimbursed. Now, I'm not sure about the chiropractors and other affiliated health personnel, but I think what we're seeing is sort of a pendulum swing that's occurring right now. And so that pendulum swing is going to occur, and it's going to bring everybody with it. So as this thing is swinging over, we're just going to continue to see more and more people that are able to be reimbursed with telemedicine, because our legislators are finding that it is important for taking care of people safely. And also, there's great satisfaction with being treated this way by patients. That's what we're seeing. And there's good evidence to suggest that patients really like this. So I think we'll continue to see that pendulum swing. And I believe that the reimbursement will continue to happen for other allied health personnel.
Right. And as people are getting more confident in the technology, they're understanding that the technology and the security will keep their information safe, that it's been well documented, it will be retained for that retention period. You've got good audit logs in place. All of those infrastructure, that kind of supporting net is, people are getting more comfortable with it. We've got enough history to be able to say, we know how to do this well.
Yeah, you're right. I think we're seeing confidence grow in the marketplace with telemedicine. We're seeing platforms that respond and work really well. We're seeing efficiency driven by the platforms. And if technology works on both sides of the equation for the patient and the provider, there's no doubt that it's going to continue to be utilized, especially if the reimbursement is there. So I just see telehealth as growing. I don't see it really slowing down. There'll probably be a retraction a little bit as we hopefully come off of the pandemic a little bit. But I do believe that it's been the catalyst to show significant growth with telemedicine and demonstrate its effectiveness. So I expect it to continue to grow.
And working in remote areas and being able to do some load balancing, if you will, for different healthcare providers that aren't available in one area can be supplemented or supported by a telehealth solution.
Oh, access is the thing that just fires me up the most about telemedicine. I just love the fact that anywhere around the world, you can put like the world's expert in, within, arm's reach of that patient. I mean, that's the beauty of telemedicine. You could have a remote village somewhere, and the world's expert on a cardiac procedure, it could be on the other line talking to an allied health person and get the information to the patient, maybe the patient themselves. And really that's the beauty and the power of telemedicine. It's just the access for everyone, which is really what we want. We want people to have the best care possible, and it's going to allow people to be able to achieve that. So that's really great.
Yeah. So on your website, you have an article about lessons learned from 500,000 telehealth visits. Can you condense that to the top 3 lessons?
Absolutely. So I think, for me, the one thing for practices to remember is that, telemedicine is critically, important for people to do, to help their practices grow. But the main thing I think is you want to have kind of a leader, like a band leader in your practice. So for me, as practices are getting this started, the number one thing is kind of having that lead person that can push telemedicine out to the masses in the practice and show that technology is fairly achievable. The second thing that I think is really important is understanding where the low-hanging fruit is for whatever practice that you're in with telemedicine. So, as you look around at the types of visits that you typically utilize, for me, as an orthopedic surgeon, the lowest hanging fruit were post-operative recheck appointments and MRI follow-up. So those patients usually did not need to come back in, especially after an arthroscopic procedure. We needed to check their incisions and start physical therapy. So I could save them a visit, from coming back to see me. And then, the MRI follow-ups were another area of sort of low-hanging fruit. So I think that's another kind of critical thing for practices to remember. And then finally, and probably most critically, before you start telemedicine, I think the most important thing is to check out your technology platform that you're utilizing. Make sure that it's super easy for your patients to be able to get in, because patients sometimes will struggle with just a simple password and things like that. So it's got to be like very, very easy for patients to achieve, like getting into the visit. And then for providers, there needs to be efficiency on their end too. And, every platform is a little bit different about how the patients come in and how the providers come in and whether or not you see the schedule and things like that. So very, very critical to make sure that you, I think, look at your technology really carefully as well. Hopefully that kind of hit the three main points, but I feel like those are kind of the three most important ones that come to mind for me.
That's a great summary. Make sure that you've got a leader who's going to be a champion, and that might be someone in a professional capacity. It might be a team lead in your front office staff. So having that confident leader, making it easy for the patient to be able to use, and to have a platform that is stable and easy for the providers to be able to use as well.
Right, and don't forget the low-hanging fruit as well. That was another one. It's kind of like the types of visits. You want to choose the easy ones at first. You don't want to go and try to do new patient visits right off the bat. Always choose kind of the easier visits, that you're working from. So for me, it was like post-operative rechecks and MRI follow-up. Everyone knows which visits are going to really be great for telemedicine.
Okay.
In your own practices.
All right. Now you started this business and the platform in the States, and I hear that you're looking for an opportunity to make it more available in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we were talking with an orthopedic surgeon in Canada a little bit, and we have some interest. The main thing in Canada that we have to achieve is we have to actually have a server in Canada for all the PHI to live. And so, if there's enough interest in Canada, we would actually, open the server up there and get everything kind of organized so that, all the PHI will live there. I think those are one of the main Canadian rules with PHI protected health information. So we absolutely would be happy to. It is available in the App Store and everything, in Canada. It's just for someone to be able to utilize it, a provider to utilize it, we need to have a server available.
Okay, so we just need to get it past that last mile.
That's it. We're ready. So we're really excited about it.
I really appreciate talking with you. It's very exciting to have telehealth options, and the more options that we have, the easier it's going to make it to find the right solution for your provider. And OrthoLive and SpringHealthLive. SpringHealthLive,
that's right.
Right. Might be that solution that works for you.
Thanks so much, Jean.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Greiwe. It's been great chatting with you, and I wish you a great success in your endeavors.
Thank you so much. It was great being on the program.
Thank you.
Did you hear something on today's podcast that you would like to go back and listen to again? Or maybe you heard something on one of our previous podcasts, but you don't remember which one, and you'd like to be able to find it quickly and easily. Well, that's easy to do now. If you heard something on this podcast that you want to revisit, go to practicemanagementnuggets.live/search and enter the keyword in the magic box. You will be brought back to the podcast at the exact spot where we talked about it. This video keyword search tool uses the new Searchy app. If you would like to know more about this, visit informationmanagers.ca/likes-searchy. That's SEARCHIE. I'm excited about this new season, and I'd so appreciate your help to spread the word with your colleagues. First, make sure that you subscribe and add a review on whatever podcast platform that you use. Next, take a screenshot of this episode that you're listening to right now and share it on your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or your preferred social media channel. Remember to tag me and I will reshare your post. When you share the show, it makes it easier for people just like you and who like what you like to find the show. Until next time, this is Jean Eaton, your practice management mentor and your practical privacy coach.